Hey folks, we have a little TriMet entertainment here. We have the crime syndicate is meeting. The world's still turning. The shit's hitting the fan. They're invading somewhere. The fucking vaccine derangement syndrome is full blown in Massachusetts as it is in Oregon. The middle class is being wiped out. There's more homeless than ever. Sarah got arrested for arson while she was making a warming fire. She's in the ditch. Basically, the world is disintegrating in front of our eyes. I'm not sure how many people tracking this, but I am. I have all day to watch the action. And the TriMet crime syndicate, I'm sorry, but all government is now a crime syndicate as far as I'm concerned. And TriMet is just another unit of government that makes it a crime syndicate because it no longer functions at all for the citizens. When they cut the service back to just now 20% cut from what they had, they effectively destroyed their service as a reasonable alternative to cars. Cars will now be the king of the roads for unforeseen, probably permanently. TriMet now is nothing but a paycheck to the employees, to the executives, to the technocrats, to the bureaucrats, to the contractors, and all the people making money from their tax distribution scheme. They take the money from people that don't use the TriMet and they distribute it to all the insiders. But as far as an actual service for the people, it's gone. Now, I imagine you can still use the Max, but it's very dangerous. Now, I don't hold TriMet responsible for the collapsing civilization around it. It's not their fault that the civilization is collapsing. They had no role in that, but they're not doing what needs to be done to keep their system functioning properly. And what I'm talking about, of course, is they screwed up. They let a driver shortage happen. That's a management failure, and the management should have been fired because that was preventable. And they could have fixed it by raising the salaries, but they didn't do that. That's absolutely won't happen. There is no discussion of actually raising salaries. I'm talking about making it a real decent job, like starting at 55 and topping at 100. A real career position. But they won't do that. They refuse to do that. They're doing all this other nonsense, like you can get hired and start immediately full time, and you can start at 21 an hour. It's not enough. It's not enough. So the crime syndicate is not really interested in solving the problems. The barriers don't actually stop assaults. They could have bought barriers that do actually stop assaults, but they didn't. I read somewhere, I got one of the, I guess it was from the Deke, that they have prototypes, they call them, where they put in a few actual real barriers that actually protect drivers at each garage, like 30 per garage or something. And that's just another bullshit scheme because they need to retrofit everything with an actual driver barrier where people can no longer access the driver. You can't reach around it. You can't get around it. None of this other shit would be happening if that had been done properly, but they didn't do it properly. And there's no plans to do it properly. So the crime syndicate continues its merry way, passing out all this money to all the insiders, contractors. The pork is flowing from the government to the insiders. So we're going to take our time watching this. We're going to just do a little bit a day because I don't want to burn out on it. We'll start now.
I'd like to begin this morning by welcoming everyone. I'm Linda Simmons, and I'm the TriMet Board President. For those of you who are our viewers, I want to welcome you as well as the board to the TriMet Board of Directors meeting for January 26, 2022. And as usual, we're going to start with the public forum. And for our viewers, the public forum provides an opportunity for the community to provide your thoughts, concerns, or feedback about TRIMET and our service. As was indicated before the meeting started, if you wish to provide comment, you only need to sign up and virtually raise your hand, and when it's your turn, you'll be called on to testify. We ask that when you speak, you limit your comments to 3 minutes, and if you don't have time to present all your material, you can email it to us, and an email link will be provided to you. So let's begin, and I'll ask Kim Ango to invite our first speaker to speak.
All right, let's see.
Good morning, President Simmons. We have 3 speakers today. We're going to begin with Kathy Tuttle, followed by Serenity Ebert and Thomas Craig.
Right.
Welcome, Kathy.
And here they got this nice big fat clock. All right, let's hear it.
And I'm sorry, it appears I'm having an issue unmuting. Brent, can you please unmute Kathy Tuttle, please?
Dum da dum dum. Leader in technology, everybody. Leader in technology.
Thank you. Can you hear me now?
Oh, here we go.
Yes, you can. Thank you, Kathy.
Thank you very much, and thank you, commissioners. My name is Kathy Tuttle. I'm a city and a community planner, and I'm on sabbatical this year in Portland. I'm testifying today to support the disabled community and their access to TRIMET services. 3 years ago, I spent a few weeks working in the city of Pontevedra, Spain. I'm lucky where my consulting work takes me. And I was walking around town there with the commissioner of police, and I asked him why the city had so many people using wheelchairs and mobility scooters. He said that visitors often asked him that question. He said, "We have the same number of other abled people as any city, but here, all people can easily use our public spaces." So I want to see all people in the TRIMET region too. And I believe TRIMET is failing to provide equitable mobility at this time. You can choose to improve access with a simple policy and hardware update. Right now, TRIMET rules do not allow anything but a very narrow range of mobility devices on trains, small, lightweight bicycles, walkers, and wheelchairs. And yet people with all kinds of disabilities use all kinds of mobility devices. I trust that the TRIMET board will address the inequality of service and allow this variety of mobility device, trikes and scooters in the short term, smaller vehicles, but still vehicles that people use to get around. These vehicles should be welcomed on TRIMET trains now. And in the longer term, I hope that some TRIMET trains can be reconfigured with more open floor plans and tie-down areas to allow all kinds of people to regularly use the TRIMET trains. I know that you want to be in the business as board members of providing equitable and reliable service to all transit users. And thank you very much for your work on the board. Thank you. That's all.
Thank you, Kat. I appreciate your testimony.
Well,
Next,
yeah.
Present.
Stop. Well, yeah. Why don't they do that? There's been conversations on Twitter recently about the trikes not being allowed on the buses. Trikes are being banned, and the people that are disabled use the trike instead of the bike. But the TRIMET code does not allow it. So they need to change that, but who knows if they will? Probably not. You know, there's no discussion of the comments. Like, make a comment and go away. Next.
The next presenter this morning is Serenity Ebert.
Serenity.
Welcome, Serenity.
Ebert.
Okay, thank you, directors. Good morning. My name is...
Yes, good morning.
I'm sorry, what?
I just said good morning.
Good morning. My name is Serenity Ebert. I'm the Vice Chair of ViCloud, a member of the Civil Unrest Bicycle Club, and a resident of downtown Portland. TRIMET, you have failed me. I feel that you continue not to see me. Portland has gone through many changes, but a few things have remained constant. Number one, Portland has always prided itself on being a cycling-friendly city. It was famous for its cycling infrastructure. As a disabled cyclist, that is one of the reasons I moved here 13 years ago. Number two, Portland prides itself on being a progressive city. I have been disappointed on both counts. Whereas my fellow cyclists can combine bike trips with transit when they can't safely ride somewhere. I have been barred from the same option. I demand the transit options promised to me by the ADA. If the issue is really that my trike is too big or poses a direct threat, as you said in your denial of my 2017 application, that could be remedied by modifying or reconfiguring a few existing cars. Remove a few of the seats and provide tie-down points to safely accommodate a wide variety of devices. In the meantime, just let me on with my trike. If the issue is simply that I could use my walker instead, as you said in your denial of my 2018 reasonable modification request, I point to your unwavering commitment to civil rights, referred to in your 2019 Title VI program update. Thank you.
Thank you, Serenity. And it's customary that the board doesn't respond to the community members when they address the board. However, there's a number of individuals who are concerned about this topic, and I'll ask that the general manager address it in his general manager report. So you might want to stay online. Thank you. Kimberly?
Yeah, I just said the trike issue is pretty disgraceful, TriMet, that you don't allow those. Goddamn disgraceful, really.
Thank you, President Simmons. That concludes all of the public attendee forum this morning.
Okay. Thank you. I'll go ahead and close the public comment period and open the business meeting. Before we begin with, and we usually start with board reports, but before we begin with board reports, I wanted to check with the directors to see if anyone has any time constraints today that would result in you needing to leave the meeting before we conclude. And I've heard from one person, and so you don't need to tell me about it. One person needs to conclude by 10 minutes to 12. Is there anyone else?
Director Simmons, I do have a stop at 12.
Okay, that's helpful. Thank you so much. So we will want to try to get through the meeting as expediently as possible, but also make sure we take care of all of TriMet's business.
President Simmons?
I
apologize. This is Kimberly. Sorry for interrupting. I'm sorry. We actually do have one other person who had raised their hand for public testimony.
Okay.
We have Thomas Craig, who is joining us this morning. So Thomas, your microphone is now unmuted.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Thank you, Kimberly. Thank you, President Simmons. Thank you, other members of the TRIMET board. I also want to start by thanking and applauding the testimony by Kathy and Serenity. Each brought up some excellent points, and I really appreciate them being here this morning and raising those issues. My name is Thomas Craig from zip code 97203 near Columbia Park, just off the 75. Lived within a mile of the 75 for more than 30 of my 36 years, growing up and living in Portland. My childhood home is on 38th Avenue, just a bit north of the Hollywood Transit Center. It is distressing to see the board consider today a $3.1 million contract to continue the Hollywood Transit Center remodeling project. There is broad community agreement outside of TRIMET that this project is a bad idea, as currently conceived. There is a known mistake in the census block boundaries and related tax credit system that TRIMET staff are aware of and not seeking to fix before moving forward, despite that mistake having grave consequences for the quality of the facility that can be built. There's not enough planned housing, and the planned pedestrian, bike, and wheelchair access infrastructure, as well as other mobility devices, does not meet the needs of the region's present or future. YIMBYs are against this project, NIMBYs are against it, transit advocates are against it, bike and ped advocates, equity and accessibility advocates. TRIMET has done an impressive job of unifying opposition to this project. Unfortunately, a unified opposition is not what we need. We need TRIMET to have a vision that unifies the community in favor of the agency's proposals. A vision of radically more bus service that provides better access to all riders, a vision of more accessible trains, buses, a vision of better accessible pedestrian grid in collaboration with the cities, counties of the region, and Metro, ODOT, and other stakeholders, and a TRIMET that promotes that vision actively and intently on the regional stage and asks us all to do better for our community. Please speak up today and ask the TRIMET staff to go back to the drawing board, listen to community feedback, and ask that a new approach to Hollywood Transit Center and other future projects be proposed. Thank you.
Thank you, Thomas. Okay.
No comments?
If that concludes the public.
Yeah, they're not gonna comment on that, obviously. Well, as we know, this is a done deal. There's no going back. The money's signed. The developer weasels control government, not just in Portland, but everywhere else. The criminal class runs our government now. The citizens no longer have any say whatsoever, and this is a very good example of that. Sorry, you're not going to get anything from them. The ink is signed on Hollywood. It's, just like they destroyed the bus service without any public input, they're going to destroy Hollywood. They got public input, but it didn't mean anything to them. All the decisions are made by this idiot right here, this guy, and all of his henchmen below him. They run this transit agency. They own the transit agency. They make all the decisions. You don't make any decisions. You don't get any voice, no matter how much they publicize it. Oh, we've listened to everybody in the community. We've done extensive outreach, and our proposal is a result of an extensive outreach program. That's all lies and propaganda. And, there was tremendous opposition to this. But the developer weasels are going to get their way because that's how it works. And sorry to you, and sorry to all the other public speakers that TRIMET has failed. But they failed a lot of people. They failed the riders. They failed the citizens. They really are a failed agency. And I'm sorry to have to say that. The truth is there for everybody to see.